to executive session when this meeting is done. I didn't want to leave everybody waiting, so I'll entertain a motion.
To come out of executive session.
To recess from executive session.
To recess. A motion to recess executive session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We'll recess out of executive session. I will now entertain a motion to seal the minutes that we've done in executive session.
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, the first order of business will be a roll call. Madam Clerk?
Deb Bacon, not present. Gary Cody,
Present.
Ann Dixon,
Present.
Kerry McGee,
Here.
Greg LeBoissonniere,
Present.
Nick Gorham,
Here.
Ed Wazika.
Here. Sergeant, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? We'd all stand and remove your hats, please. Thank you. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Invocation this evening will be by Father Fleming. Am I correct in your name? Okay, thank you, Father.
Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the work that you've called us to accomplish here in this town hall. We ask that you give us the grace and the courage to serve the common good for the people of Coventry, that all that we might do would be for the people of this town, for the social good, so that we can maintain good relationships with our brothers and sisters, and that we do well for the glory of your name. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Father, thank you very much for that. Okay, emergency evacuation plan. Town Sergeant, please.
In case of fire, get out. Emergency evacuation in case of fire, get out.
Okay, the next item is President's comments. I have just a couple. First of all, I hope everybody had a happy and healthy holiday season. As the budget season approaches, I encourage taxpayers to get involved. Our first work session will be 19 February. The town manager will submit his capital budget, and I believe the March 5th will be the next town open meeting. So please encourage the taxpayers to get involved and come and give their suggestions. All right? Just a reminder that I will be maintaining decorum for both the council and the public. I'll be looking for cooperation from everyone. Council members will have an opportunity to speak out on every topic, but in an orderly fashion. Please put cell phones on silent and refrain from texting as not to disrupt our meeting. If you absolutely must use your cell phone, please quietly make your way to the foyer and have at it. I would like to answer questions during public comment, but there are some taxpayers that felt it necessary to file an OMA violation on a board in town trying to answer questions on a question from a taxpayer. Much time and money was spent rebutting this, what I call, baseless complaint. This is the exact reason that we do not answer concerns during public comment. Right. Thank you very much. Okay, the next order of business will be approval of a town council meeting December 10th, 2018 and December 20th, 2018. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Do we have any comments? Before we, okay, go ahead, Ms. Dixon.
I'm going to ask the clerk to just correct the spelling of my last name. It's Dickson, so you'll find several instances of it in the meeting minutes. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of the minutes. Okay, council district updates. We'll start out with Mr. Cody, your district.
I've received a couple of emails from different constituents. I forwarded those emails to our town manager. One was a barking dog complaint on Cody Court, and the other one was a concern from Councilwoman Dixon's district about Flickr. Both of those emails have been forwarded to the town manager, and I expect that I will hear back of any actions taken on those, and I will contact the people that sent those to me. I have asked, and I received an email from Bradford Mayor Mays, Mays, Bradford,
Mayor, I think is mayor.
Mays, Mayo. Yeah. And I have asked the town manager and the council president to schedule a budget hearing on a Saturday. It was brought to my attention in that email that, that constituent thought that people may have problems getting to evening meetings to discuss our budget before we present it to the taxpayers. So I am formally requesting that at least one budget hearing be scheduled for a Saturday to make it more convenient for the taxpayers to be able to come and voice their concerns and voice any objections and changes they'd like to see made to the budget before we present it. Other than that, Happy New Year to everybody. Stay healthy. It's a new year. This council's going to work together. I expect with the taxpayers' cooperation, and we'll get the town moving in the right direction and keep going forward. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Dixon?
I did write down some comments, so I'll be reading some of them. I have 2 issues to report on, and I'm also going to give an update on my orientation to my new role as a council person. First, I've had conversations with 7 people about traffic concerns either at the intersection of Hill Farm Road and Hockney Hill Road, or concerns about potential problems once the Family Dollar store opens. The concerns at Hill Farm Road basically relate to the issue of turns from Hill Farm Road onto Hockney Hill traveling east, and turns into Hill Farm Road traveling east on Hockney Hill Road. There were 12 reported accidents at this intersection during the last 2 years. I spoke to Mr. Wazika, our interim town manager, and asked him to please talk to the police department and to determine if we could do some type of a traffic flow before and after the opening of the Family Dollar store. So this is a great concern to many people in that area. And as a person who travels up and down Hockney Hill Road day after day, many times a day, I can validate that it is difficult sometimes to travel on those roads. The second concern I have is from 2 residents who have been sending me emails. There are issues with wind turbines. The issues relate to noise, flicker, which is shadowing, and also low-frequency vibrations. Our current ordinance, for example, allows up to 30 hours per year of flicker inside a residence, but does not address flicker on property. One resident has reported 58.3 hours of flicker inside his home over the last, from the period March 1st, 2018 to January 13th, 2019, and over 300 hours of flicker across his property. Our ordinance only covers flicker inside the home. So we do need to do a thorough review and updating of our ordinance, and we need to come up with some type of remediation plan. I also met with a small group of residents from Keep Green Pristine to learn more about their concerns. And I also had a 2-hour meeting this weekend to learn more about the sewer issues. When I was at a leaders meeting at Bryant recently, I talked briefly with Mr. Dennis Hoyle, who is the Auditor General, and I told him that we are long awaiting his report to us, and he promised that it would be another month before we would get it. So I promised him that every 2 weeks I would send him an email and copy Mr. Wazika. I told Mr. Wazika I was copying him too, but I promised the Auditor General that I would be reminding him every 2 weeks of his reminder to us that it would come in another month. As far as I also had other issues that people have been raising. I'm not really ready for prime time yet, but as soon as I have a little more information or resolution, I'll report those out. For my orientation, I want to thank Mr. Wazika for the thoroughness by which he quickly arranged a schedule for me. I've met with members of Public Works, the Library, Human Services, the Police Department, Finance, Human Resources, the Town Manager, IT, the Tax Assessor, and Parks and Recreation. Mr. Wazika had me running up and down 117 two separate days, and I was going back and forth. So on the third set of orientation, I was so happy I was staying in one building, so that made it easier. I spent about 1 hour with each of these department heads and learned a lot more about their work, their role, how they service the public, and I also asked them about what are their priorities for this year. And I would like to tell you that it was very, very good to see the passion and enthusiasm our staff has for their roles. Many of our new hires are working on organizing and updating systems to more efficiently do their work and to provide better services to our whole community, and that is very refreshing to see. I have identified our need to gather and organize all our town policies in one place. When our comprehensive plan is ready, it will not have any teeth in it unless we have ordinances and policies that are up to date and available for the public. Finally, I did attend a new leader orientation, a 2-day workshop at Bryan University a couple of weekends ago. Lots of opportunities to meet other town council people. So I'm looking forward to other meetings that I will have with these people. So that's issues for now. It's been a short 6 weeks, but the issues are coming in every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. How about you, Mr. Bosnair?
She's always a tough act to follow.
Yes, she is.
So I'm glad I went first.
I'm not trying to be, people already have my email.
That's it. Anyway, in District 2, actually, we've had something going on in the Calvintown area, which is near my home, which a lot of it's an odor and a smell which has been happening, which happened about 15 years ago when they had problems with the old Global recycling site, which is very sulfur type odors. They seem to be a little different this time around. We actually had a meeting there with a few of the folks in the area. Mr. Wazika joined me, and then the safety officer, Matt Leonard from J.R. Vinagro Corporation, and he took us through the site, and they're very cooperative. They've been moving stuff out and looking for a solution as we all are. However, I was noticing on some social media today that apparently that Calvintown Road is not the only area in town which is suffering from some of those sulfur-type smells. I understand that it was Ty Oak Avenue and a number of other areas around town that was suffering from that today. And I've contended that it may be numerous causes which are happening, which in my mind I think part of that is is probably coming out of Johnston, which because it moves quickly, it's in and out, and depends which way the wind and the barometric pressure are going. But we are working on it in that area with Vinagro. We've got DEM involved. We've got so we can at least discount anything that might be going on at the Vinagro quarry. The next thing I want to mention was that this past Saturday, President McGee joined me here, and we had 2 people visit us this morning. That's my second one. We're trying to give the people a forum to come and ask questions and tell us their issues and problems, and we had 2 people join us this Saturday. So I have 2 more scheduled, one for February 16th from 9:30 to 11:30, and on March 16th. So I'm hoping for a little bit bigger turnout in the next 2. And I know Mrs. Dixon joined me the first one, and we had 3 people. So Gary, come out and join me. We'll on the next one we'll have
February 16th.
We'll have a trio.
February 16th, if it's available, I would absolutely love to join you.
Absolutely. Okay, then there it is. It's set. It'll be the 2 of us plus. Okay.
Yeah, we did have good conversation. We're trying to make ourselves as available as we can. I wish there would have been more people show up, but we're as available as we can, and we're always available by phone or email. Actually, District 3 has been going really smooth. We haven't had any real issues. I can't agree with you more about our staff, our management staff. They do work hard in this town, and it goes unrecognized a lot of times, and they put a lot of time and a lot of effort to run this town as smoothly and as efficiently as possible. So I can't agree with you more. But District 3 has been going smooth. They really haven't got any complaints. We've had a mild winter so far, and hopefully that continues, even though there's something on the horizon. But besides that, everything is good. That's all I have for... Oh, yes, I do. You did... We have vacancies. We have vacancies coming up on some of our boards and commissions. So I just want to give a quick rundown of what we have. And you can put in for any of our vacancies at any time. Right now we have one opening for the Patuxent River Authority. We have 3 vacancies for the Sewer Assessment Board of Review. We have 1 full vacancy and 2 alternates for the Sewer Subcommittee. We have 1 vacancy in District 1 for the Tax Assessment Board of Review. And so usually the council member from that town will try to come up with someone from your district to represent your district.
I did put that on social media.
Okay.
No bids.
All right, yeah, it's
But
tough.
I'll do it again.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, we really like to see people volunteer and help us out on these boards, but sometimes it's tough to get people to want to volunteer, and I get it, but we really need the help, so. And we also have 1 alternate vacancy for the Zoning Board of Review. One thing I did fail to mention, and I'll take the opportunity now when we during my president's comment, not to embarrass our police officer, but would you be so kind as to come up here and show off our brand new uniforms that we have voted on recently?
Wow.
I've noticed them on some of the police officers around, and I think everybody has them at this time, and they really do look sharp, and you can just give us a comment on how you like them, how comfortable? A lot more practical? All right. Great,
Yeah.
great. Thank you very much. And that was warm, are they? Good, good, all right. Thank you very much for that. Okay, our next order of business will be a presentation for the fiscal 17 audit presentation by Baxter, Dansereau and Associates. It's all yours. Yeah, just push the I, you push it up.
Okay.
Forward. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Paul Dansereau. I'm a partner with the auditing firm of Baxter, Dansereau & Associates. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you to the town, thank you to the council for allowing us to form the audit as of 6/30/2017, we're doing right now. There is a draft also right now with the town management for the 6/30/2018 audit. It's being reviewed at this time, so hopefully it'll be issued in the next 2-3 weeks. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just go over, lightly over the financial statements, what happened in 17, how the financial statements are presented, what we do as auditors, in helping the town prepare the report, because obviously this is a report of the town. We give an opinion on to the materiality of it, if there are any material mistakes that we see or anything like that. But we mostly, just a couple pages in here are ours. The rest is the town's financial statements. I don't know if you have a copy or have seen a copy, but what happens in the financial statements, the town has a statement of position which is called the government-wide financial statements. And what happens to that is it's really a full accrual financial statement presentation, just like a corporate book. You have all your liabilities on there, such as your bond, pension liabilities, those types of things go on. Police cars, public works vehicles, things like that, are all put up on your balance sheet. Because when you do your budget, you need cash for a police car or pay for things like that. So within that budget, you may have 5 police cars that you're going to buy for the year. And that gets presented in your, they call them the fund financial statements, which is mostly a cash presentation. So whatever you take in as your receipts for your real estate taxes and things like that are your revenue for the year. And then obviously your expenditures are for payroll, services for police cars, anything you're buying for education, community service, health services, things like that. So those are your really fund financial statements. But on the full accrual, what happens is an accrual is when if you're levying $71 million worth of property taxes, that's your revenue for the year. It doesn't matter if you collect it or not, but that's your revenue for the year when you're doing a full accrual. But when you levy $71 million, but if you only collected $69 million of that, that would be your revenue for the year on your fund financial statements, along with your expenditures. So during the year, on the fund financial statements, in 2017, the town had a surplus of $33,000, which added to the cumulative fund balance of $11,321,000 to get a final fund balance of $11,355,759. And that's made up of certain pieces also on your balance sheet, because the Government Accounting Standards Board says you have to break up your fund balance. It can't just be that $11,355,000. There's certain things you commit, like for culture and recreation, you had $1.5 million committed. For public safety programs, you had $19 million. For public works, $51 million. And then there was a non-spendable reservation that started in 17 for the due to, due from. I'm sure you're probably familiar with that the sewer actually owes the town itself, because the sewer program was running, as you probably know, a cash shortage. So when the sewer could not pay all its bills, it had to borrow the money from the town. And so that's what the due to, due from is basically. We're saying, okay, here's a short-term loan, hopefully, that you'll then pay the town back. But the expenses get reflected on the sewer. Does not get reflected on the town's financial statements, anything like that. All it is, I'm letting you borrow money, but you're charging the expense on your books, and you're saying, I owe you this $2 million now. So that had to be a non-spendable reservation of your fund balance, because they're saying, that could be a long-term situation or maybe not, depending on the reorganization of what happens with the sewer in 18, 19, and going forward. So then you have another major fund, because your general fund or your financial statements are broken down by the general fund, the school department. They have their own separate fund. And then you have another thing called other governmental funds. And all your other governmental funds are special revenue funds, like if you get a COPS More grant, or if you get, you do a capital project. Say you decided you were going to build or renovate the town hall here, and you allocated $2 million to that. You would probably maybe go out to bond or something like that, and you would create a capital project fund that project would run independently through and not be part of the general fund's activity. So those things are in there, and also all the school special revenue funds. School, every year they get title grants, they get all educational grants, IDEA, things like that you apply for every year. You spend the money, you apply again, you spend the money. So those are just reoccurring funds that you spend it, you apply for it, you spend it again. So those don't really retain fund balance at all. They're just charged off and used up. So the school for the year in 2017 now had a surplus of $285,000 at the end of the operations, to add to their fund balance of $259,000. So they had a cumulative fund balance of $544,000 at the end of the year. And what happens in the report, there's always a reconciliation, they call it, where you go from your fund accounting and how do you get to your government-wide financial statements of full accrual. So in the report on page 18, it shows how you get to that. You go from one number, you add in your capital assets, you book depreciation, you add in your bond principal. Your bond principal payments are actually an expense on your fund financial statements because you have to budget for that. You have to go and say, I need $3.2 million for our debt service during the year. But when you go to the full accrual now, that's a liability on your balance sheet. So instead of being an expense now, it's a reduction of your bond liability, the principal payments. So it's a lot of transition from what you do on a budgetary basis to what you do on maybe a corporate balance sheet look. So that's all on page 18, seeing how you get to that. And then on page 19 is the statement of position for the proprietary fund, and your only proprietary fund right now is the sewer fund. So on the page 19, it shows the balance sheet of the sewer. Okay, it's cash, what it has in cash, what it has in assessments receivable, Because the sewer is almost like the government-wide financial statements. The sewer is full accrual, and it always has been. It's presented that way. There's no conversion, there's no nothing, it's presented that way. So if you go out and you make sewer assessments, okay, depending on if they're 20-year assessments, you take 1/20 of that every year, you defer 19 of them, and you bill out basically 1/20th of that, and that is recognized as revenue on the sewer fund for that year. But if you don't collect it, it's still recognized as revenue. You'll have a receivable showing that you have assessments receivable. You'll have user fees booked every year, so those user fees are charged off every year, and those are revenue also. Doesn't matter if you get payment on them or not. Unlike the general fund recognizes only payments. It'll assess 71 million, but only recognizes payments as revenue. But the sewer recognizes assessments and user fees right off the bat as revenue. And then the sewer system, why does it do that? Yeah. Those are the governmental standards that it uses. It's the Government Accounting Standards Board, which regulates how financial presentation is for municipals, municipalities, governments, things like that. They say it's an enterprise fund. It should be self-sustaining, and it should be, may not be, but it should be, they say, if all, hopefully goes as well. But so when you bill out $1 million in user fees, those user fees are recognized as revenue in that current period, or sewer assessments. So if you bill out $680,000 in sewer assessments, you'll recognize that as revenue for the year. Even though you may not collect it, you'll still recognize it as that, and you'll have a receivable on your books that will say, okay, we're owed $1 million, because right at the end of 6/30/17, the water and sewer use fees, that $1,023,000 has already been recognized as revenue during previous years. So that could be an accumulation of, 5 years of billing, but you may not have collected it yet. And then on the sewer, it also shows the due to the town.
So
yeah.
I need to understand this.
Yeah.
The sewer fund is showing a revenue of $1,023,000.
It's showing a receivable of $1,023,000.
Okay.
So it's like.
So but it's also showing that it owes the town of Coventry $2 million that the town of Coventry let it borrow from the general fund.
Yes.
Sewer funds,
mm-hmm.
and that money was used to pay the town of Coventry back, then what the sewer program would owe the town of Coventry would be
go down to $1.2 million or whatever. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what happens. It's a give and take where the town collects the money in its general fund from the sewer. When I or you pay your sewer bill, okay, it'll collect it and it'll say, okay, I owe you the money now. If it collects $1,000, it turns around, the town does, and says, I owe the sewer $1,000 now. But when it pays a bill, it goes back to the sewer and says, okay, I paid a $1,500 bill for you, you owe. So back and forth all during the capacity that you use from West Warwick.
Any financial advantage and or disadvantage to making the sewer fund part of the general fund? So it's all one fund that has to be tracked by the town of Coventry.
Well, for accounting purposes, it would go against the standards that are out there from the Government Accounting Standards Board. Yep. So if you made this part of your general fund, it would not be in the proper format that we could audit it. Because nobody has their sewer fund, or no towns that I know of have their sewer funds combined with their general fund. Because they're two separate accounting methods. The general fund is a modified accrual basis. The sewer fund is a full accrual basis. So you can't mix those types of standards together, okay. Which would, go against Government Accounting Standards Boards. What can happen is, like I've worked in many towns where they charge fees to their sewer department for services that are provided by the town. You know, counting services, things like that. So they'll do that to their sewer department so they can account for the services that the town does provide.
Well, the problem is we don't have a sewer department.
Yes.
We have a sewer fund.
Yes.
How do you charge a fee to something that doesn't exist?
Well, your finance department manages the finances of the sewer department. They take in money, they pay bills, they go through the process of keeping the books for the sewer.
Yeah.
So indirectly, they're providing services for the sewer department. So that's what I was kind of talking about. Some towns will charge a administrative fee to the sewer department.
Okay, so your professional opinion and recommendation would be that the two should not be combined because it goes against government reporting practices, and with as many different municipalities as you've worked for, you've never seen anyone do that before.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be difficult to do. You
Kind
couldn't
of bass
do
backwards.
you couldn't
Yeah.
do that. Because then I would have to say something. I would have to report that you're not following, within my opinion, of what's going on here.
Right.
I would have to say you're not
Well,
following
that's what we pay you for.
Government
is to
Accounting
keep us-
Standards Board. Yeah.
To keep us right. So,
Yeah.
no, that's why I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Yeah. So now within the sewer for the year, and the sewer also automatically charges, if you went out, like all the interceptor pipes and things like that, Arnold Road, all the work that was done on Arnold Road and all that, those millions of dollars that were spent now are not expense. They're actually put up on the balance sheet. You know, you spent $2 million on interceptor pipes and whatever. That's put up on the balance sheet, and it might be a 30-year depreciation, or it could be a 50-year depreciation. So you're taking 1/30th, 1/50th of that every year and charging that off as an expense to your sewer fund. So during that year of 2017, $549,000 was charged off to the sewer fund as an expense, which is a non-cash outlay, okay, because it's depreciation. You've laid out that cash years ago, and now you're charging that cash off or that expense off. So that's a non-cash outlay. So during the year, the sewer department took in operating revenues, $2,788,000 between user fees and assessment fees. And if someone comes in and says, yeah, I know you charge me sewer use assessment fees over 20 years. I'm tired of making that bill payment every year. Here's my whatever, thousands of dollars. That will automatically turn into revenue for that year. Right. Okay, so if I go and pay off my long-term debt, you turn around and say, okay, I'll take that money. It's revenue for that year. So that's another process that has to be accounted for. Then the sewer has operating expenses for contract services, operations, maintenance, all types of chemicals that you buy, things like that. Then, like I said, the depreciation. Then it has interest expense on the debt service that it carries. So that was like $542,000. And then it had, in this year, it had a grant of $209,000 for that one-time grant for that year. So all in all, the change in net position for the sewer was a loss of $89,000 for the year. So that left a net position of $11,290,000 of, they call it net position rather than fund balance in this type of presentation. But what happens is they call the net position is made up of a couple components within the its net position. And what has to happen is they call it net position invested in assets net of related debt, which means that you take your assets and your total depreciable assets were about $26 million. And it says, okay, take the debt that you have against that, and net those two together, and what does that number present? And that presented $11,141,000 of that total $11,290,000. So that left unrestricted or unassigned, whatever you want to call it, $148,000. And that's what was left as like a spendable portion of that net position. Because you can't go and use capital assets to pay for chemicals, for those types of things. So that's why they restrict that. And they actually do that in your government-wide financial statements for all your governmental funds. They do the same thing. They say, okay, all your assets less your debt that you have, what is that number? That's a restricted number because obviously you're not going to sell this building to pay for services.
Well, you would think that. But, go ahead.
Yeah. So, well, and you can. I mean, towns have sold schools or things like that because populations go down. So they do sell capital assets, and they sell those off, and they do recoup money out of that, and then that goes into the general fund. Yeah, so that can happen. And then within the report, we have on page 22, they're all the fiduciary funds, they call them, which are your police pension, your municipal pension, the school pension, private purpose trust funds, and agency funds. And these are all, you are basically, the town is an agent for these assets. They're not, can't be used for operations or anything like that. So, so those are all just held in a fiduciary capacity, but they have to be presented here. So those are all on page 22 and 23. And then there's all the notes to the
Those
fund.
are what all the bonding agencies look at for your unfunded liabilities when they're setting your bonding rate.
Well, those actually flow now because GASB 68 came out about 3 years ago, they call it. And what that said was you had to take that unfunded liability, the big number now, not the little net pension obligation, they called it years ago. And that was a calculated number, but it was a smaller number. But then they came out with GASB 68 and said, you know what, for more clarity, more to show what the real liability is, in these government-wide financial statements, you have to show your full pension unfunded liability. So then they came out with the net pension liability, they called it, rather than the net pension obligation. And that's what flows to your government-wide financial statements.
Right.
So that unfunded portion now is shown as a liability. And when it came on as a liability, and then it hit your net position, which drove the net position down because now it's an unfunded portion. So that's what happened to that happened to many communities because not every community is sitting there with a totally funded pension.
Well, that happened when Gina Raimondo was treasurer, and she changed the calculations because she wanted the pensions funded to 100%, which meant if everybody in that pension system retired tomorrow, you could continue to make those pension payments out for the life of that person.
Yeah.
When you know as well as I do, 100% of the people in in Council 94 ain't retiring all at the same time.
No.
But because she changed that reporting practice, that's why everybody's pensions went, the unfunded portion of them ballooned through the roof.
Yeah, it had to be presented.
Correct.
Yes, it had to be presented.
It had to be presented every year.
And the state has to do that too, because when GASB 68 came out, the state had to go and say, okay, what's our $1 billion unfunded pension liability? So they had to do that because the teachers plan, a lot of communities are in the municipal plan.
Correct.
You have your 3 independent plans here, but even the portion that is owed on the teacher's plan, because the state owns some of that liability, and so do the towns, so the town has to present their portion of it on your financial statements. And those are all presented in, all out through the notes in the financial statements on pages, describes the pensions, shows what the liabilities are, shows what the contributions are for the year. and those types of things.
Well, the good part about the new practice is it forces us to pay 100% of our ARC every year, which community should have been doing right along, but
Yes.
none of us, including Coventry, did that.
Mhm.
We used that money to keep the tax increases as low as possible, and the people that were promised pensions were
Yeah.
taking it in the wrong end.
Yes.
So that can't happen anymore, because we
Yeah.
have to fund it 100% of the ARC every year now,
Yeah, the
so
state.
there is a benefit to
The
it.
state got more involved, and so did reporting now, and it's more out there now, you know, so. And the bonding agencies look at that, those types. This report, and it rolls forward. One other thing that we do, we have to do, because there's a thing called a single audit, which is how you spend your federal money, because you get over $3 million in federal money, so that triggers a single audit. Anytime you spend over $750,000 of expenditures, that triggers the single audit, and we have to perform a single audit. So that's in the back of the book. We go and we, under the criteria that we have to follow, we go and we pick out maybe 2, 3, 4 funds, depending on the threshold of the dollars we have to look at, and we audit those specifically for compliance with the federal guidelines and things like that, internal control, federal guidelines. So we'll come and we'll do those, and you know, if we find a problem, we state it within the report. And in 17, we did find a problem with the you called it the, I'm sorry. It was the senior program that you have for the center. We found some internal control issues there and things like that, which we reported on in the back of the report. And the town, you know, had a comment on what they're going to do to fix those problems and their implementation of corrective action. So this was 17, so because of the high risk involved in that program, we looked at it again this year, okay? Because the accounting standards boards require us to look at high-risk programs and see if there's still a problem there. And from what we saw this year, we saw the corrective action plans were being implemented, and we didn't see any major issues with that this year. So that was good. Yeah. So that's kind of a, hopefully not too long of a presentation, but if you have any specific questions you would like to go over with me, feel free to ask me any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Denswell, for that presentation. And if we have any questions in the future, we'll forward them over.
Yeah, I can always be contacted at my office, through John, the finance director, and his staff. But
Thank you very much.
yeah, and also thanks to all of them, you know, John and his staff, and Bob, who used to be here, you know, for this audit. You know, we're very thankful to them for providing us with the information that we need on a timely basis.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
I thank you all.
Dr. Dixon, Mr. Cody, I apologize for you not having a hard copy. I forgot, as new members on the council, I will take care of my mistake tomorrow and get you hard copies. It is online, though.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is item number 6, a presentation by Simple Recycling, Coventry Simple Recycling Textile. Kevin, you have any information on that for us?
Good evening.
Thank you.
I have with me the representative from
They look good in pink.
Simple Recycling, Savannah Herrick, and she's going to give a short presentation, and then I'll follow it up with some facts.
So I don't know if I can slides here. We work with partnerships representative. So Waste Zero is a waste reduction company. We help cities and towns save money by reducing their trash and increasing their recycling. So one of the things, since we look at a lot of data about trash, we found is that according to the EPA, 85% of textiles, so things like clothing, shoes, handbags, bedding, are thrown in the trash, even though they're perfectly reusable and recyclable. So getting this material out of the waste stream is just one way that we can cut down what's going into our landfill, save money, and improve the environment. It can also help clean up the recycling stream because clothing is actually one of the top 5 contaminants in single stream recycling. So Waste Zero has partnered with a company called Simple Recycling that addresses this issue in a really unique way, really effective way. All Simple Recycling does is collect and recycle textiles at the curb. So again, things like clothes that don't fit anymore, that one shoe or one sock that you can never find the match for. So basically how the service works is when the program begins, all residents will receive a mailer like this, like I handed out, with 2 pink Simple Recycling bags. They fill the bags with their unwanted textiles and place them out on the curb to be collected by Simple Recycling on the same day as their regular recycling. When Simple Recycling comes along and picks up the bags, they leave behind additional bags. So if you leave out 2 pink bags, they'll leave you 3, and they secure them usually to the recycling cart handle or whatever the town would prefer, but they secure it so it doesn't blow away and become litter. If residents ever need more bags, say your kids just moved out to go to college or you're just doing some spring cleaning, residents can call a toll-free number or go request bags online, and Simple Recycling will drop them off the next time they're in the area. So they're currently serving about 23,000 households in Rhode Island, but more than 4.5 million households across the U.S. The program has absolutely no cost to the town or to the resident. So the collection is free, the bags are free, recycling is free, there's never any processing or startup fees or anything like that. And what's more is that they'll actually pay the town $20 per ton of material that they collect. So it's not a huge amount of money, but it's better than residents throwing it in the trash or contaminating the recycling. So I do have some pages of FAQs, but I also welcome any questions that you might have at this time, or if Mr. McGee would like to add anything.
One of the main things that makes it interesting for the Public Works in our recycling program is that currently we are paying $47 a ton for waste disposal. So the more that we are able to divert out of our waste stream, putting it into recycling, is less the taxpayers have to pay in our budget for disposal of solid waste and trash. By doing this, it's one more tool in our toolbox on working to reduce the overall cost of our waste disposal cost. And this program came up, and with it not being any cost to the town or to the residents, and actually seeing a revenue of $20 per ton collections. It also does not affect any of the collection donation boxes. People that normally would throw something in that container will still do the same. This is for the 1 or 2 items that people aren't going to waste their time running down to a box. They're going to throw it to the trash. So we're not affecting the recycling numbers as far as the collection boxes from the charities. This is going to be directly for the people that are going to throwing materials into and it's all textiles, not just clothes. We're talking about, like she said, curtains, bedspreads, any textile collection is going to help reduce that cost to the taxpayers.
I did notice on the back of the frequently asked questions, you do pick up other things other than textiles, I'm just going to read a couple of them. It says jewelry, pitches, mirrors, things to that effect. They also will go into the bag.
Yeah, so small household items they accept as well. The majority of what they get is textiles, but yeah, they'll take pots and pans, things that you mentioned, where they haven't gotten any fine jewelry yet, but yeah. Maybe.
I mean, I think the people that do, some people save their clothes, take it to either a Goodwill or Salvation Army and get their tax receipts, and I don't think it's going to have a big effect on that. You're right. I think the people are just going to throw a couple pairs of pants or shirts out. That would, what's going to go in these bags. But I like the idea that it's no cost to the town, and I do, correct me if I'm wrong, the the tonnage price is gonna go up to $60-something in the near future, is my
Yeah,
correct?
Resource Recovery, in fact, we have a meeting on Wednesday. Recovery is already talking about the 22-23 season, about it raising up from $47, which just went up from $39 to $63 a ton. So we have another 2 years here of this year, this budget year, the next year, of it staying at 47, but there's already talk about that increasing and also removing our yard waste allocation. We have up to 800, and for our town, 825 tons at $0. Anything above our allocated cap, they charge us $25 a ton. They're talking now that they don't want any yard waste, and that they're gonna charge the towns $25 a ton from ton one, starting in those years in that 22, 23 area. So we need to make some adjustments for that, and we also need to make some adjustments on keeping our dollars down on our waste disposal.
All right. Now, am I correct in saying that you'll have a vehicle following the route or going on the route, and at the, whatever day the garbage is for the particular area, you'll have a separate vehicle of your own following, picking this up?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a sort of a 9-foot van, like a U-Haul size van, and yeah, it'll have Simple Recycling branding on it. They'll get the recycling routes from the town, and they'll follow, not literally follow the trucks, but they'll follow that schedule and that route.
Are there any questions from anybody else on the council?
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Where is your collection center? Where do they drop drop these things off?
Yeah, so that's a great question. They have a hub in Taunton, Massachusetts. So they're sort of spreading rapidly around that radius.
Oh, okay, all right. So that's where the main hub is. But if they're going around in vans, obviously, town of Coventry's got there'll be a lot of pink bags when you fit them in a van. Where do they go before they get to Taunton?
Let's hope they need several vans.
Yeah, you're right. But again, it's if it gets going, and I'm sure you've got quite a few, are they going to be locating a facility, any closer than Taunton? Or
they may in the future. I'm not sure what their plans are with that, but they do. They'll make sure that they have enough vans based on the population size.
And how many trucks would be out in Coventry? Say once you get this out there, will it be strictly through experience? Would it be through the rate of collections that you're making,
Right, yeah, so they have data and ways to sort of estimate how many vans they'll need, but then of course, yeah, as time goes on and they're finding they may need more, a lot more.
Are they pink like that?
Yeah, that's part of sort of the genius of their marketing, I think. It stands out.
All right, we'll be able to see them coming then, right?
There will be one truck in town every day, because we have 5 routes. Recycling routes, so every day one of the routes will be done, so there'll be a truck here every day collecting.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
$20 a ton, listen, it's not a lot of money, but does everything that's picked up go towards that tonnage, or is it just textiles that go towards that tonnage?
Sure, that's a great question too. So all of it will go towards the $20 a ton.
Okay.
Once it's in the pink bag, they collect whatever it is, really,
And
no matter. Yeah.
Coventry has a lot of craftsmen, blue-collar employees. I do asphalt for a living. I I throw away a lot of clothing every year. How contaminated, and I don't mean contaminated in the sense that you can't touch it, but, I mean, how bad can it be, and you can still throw it in a pink bag, and it can be used as insulation or whatever? I mean, because usually if I'm throwing it away, it's because nobody wants to wear it, including me.
Yeah, so that's also what's so great about their program, is that they will collect the things that are totally stained, totally ripped up, as long as it's not soaked in lighter fluid or something like that. They're happy to take it because, like you said, the damaged things get shredded and used for insulation and things like that. So everything has a repurpose.
Okay, and if Coventry decided to go with this program, how would you initially get the bags passed out, and what would you do to inform the taxpayers, or work in conjunction with DPW to inform the taxpayers that this program exists?
Yeah, so the mailer will go out, and it'll look just like this. So residents will get this, and they find that people pay attention to it because it's not just a postcard. It has, the bags with it, and again, it stands out, the pink. And then we are happy to work with the town, with Public Works, to do, some towns, have a sort of press release event where, the council members are photographed putting their pink bag out, things like that. So I'm happy to work with the town on.
So I noticed a Medford logo here. Would the town of Coventry's logo be on the
Exactly.
On those that are being mailed?
Yep, exactly. And there's some flexibility on the card too. So with what you want to message on it, so it'll be your seal and then whatever messaging you want.
We do have some money for advertising for the recycling program, and we would take out ads as a reminder. We put it on the town website and also on our Facebook pages throughout town. So.
Wait a minute, this said no cost to the town. No cost to the town is what this said.
There'll be no cost when we talk about the savings.
Okay, is there any other questions?
Nope.
So are we,
Thank you.
yeah, go ahead.
If we approve this program, I would like to see some kind of report from you maybe in 6 months to give us a status report on how well the program is going and whether you would recommend that we would continue it or not. Because this is like one more thing we're asking our residents to put out on the curb, and I'm not sure how amenable they're going to be to doing this. So I would like to have a status report.
Absolutely, but I don't think we're asking them for one more thing. I think we're offering them one more solution to saving tax dollars.
Thank you.
I mean, I just think that the fact that it's no cost to the town and it can reduce our tonnage for the central landfill, that it's a big plus. To me, it's a no-brainer. I think that people will accept it. We've been pushing the recycling program, and that's been doing real well so far. Could always do better, and I think this is just a tool to help us do better. So, I mean, this doesn't say to take any action on tonight, but I appreciate the information and the presentation.
Thank you. The plans would be having the town manager go forward with any paperwork that has to be filled out, and looking at starting this probably in the springtime, sometime in that April, May timeframe, to get all the proper pieces into play before we start.
I just got one other question. I know that with the bin people, the different bin businesses that have been out there, a lot of those guys have actually had problems with their bins being stolen, and to probably by competitors who didn't want their things. Have you ever had any problems with some of the bin owners? A lot of those people, they say it's a charity on there, but a charity only gets a small percentage of the the $20 a ton, from something. Have there been any issues anywhere?
I'm not sure about theft. I don't think theft has been a huge issue. Simple Recycling, as of now, is the only company that's picking up at the curb like this. So that's not to say that they won't have competitors in the future. But they, aren't really they exist in conjunction with the drop boxes. So again, it's sort of just the choice of the resident.
Okay, great, thank you.
Some of those clothing container boxes that we see that have come missing, some of them we've actually had to confiscate because they failed to pay what they're supposed to be, keeping it clean. They get notice, and if they don't follow the notice or don't pay the fee for the collection box, we have 2 or 3 of them at a transfer station because they just failed to pay the money. So,
yeah, we do have rules and regulations on those boxes. Yes. Once again, I thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, the next item on the agenda would be the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, would you read item 1, please?
Next, we have tax abatements, $15,976.91, and additions of $4,589.65.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to accept. Is there any questions? Do you have anything to tell us, add to this? Or,
I just mentioned that this batch is basically the last of the abatements that I did at the assessor level for the appeal process. There are a few more that are going to the board of review, but that shouldn't be much on that, and so that pretty much ends the tax appeal abatements that we're going to see for the year.
Once again, I like the way you do this. This is makes it much easier for us to follow through. Any
Great,
questions from any of the council? The board will entertain. The chair will entertain it. Chair to motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Sir. Okay, the next item on the agenda is, item number 2, Madam Clerk.
Next, we have a renewal application by Robert Pinchenko for private detective license.
Okay, you guys had a chance to look at it,
I don't have
Chair-
one.
You don't have
I don't
one?
have an
That was-
A2 in my package.
That was, sent out to us,
She
you
gave
got
a
it?
copy of it, Gary.
C2.
No, C2, I don't have that.
They might have been on your, she emailed some of them out too, but that's his thing. I got it by email
Okay, you need
as
to,
well.
minute to look at it, it's,
I got my email, there it is.
Colonel McDonald signed the application, there's no, issues as far as the police go, you've had a chance to look at it, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the application.
So moved.
Second,
I second it.
all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, Madam Clerk, the next item, number 3, please.
Next, we have a resolution authorizing the interim town manager to award a contract for pavement markings to Highway Safety Systems, Inc., 9 Rockview Way, Rockland, Mass.
Okay, Kevin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What we have before you is our 3-year contract for the award of pavement markings. We just completed a 3-year contract, and we're asking for you to look at this and award the low bidder as the lowest qualified bidder also for budget purposes going forward for this upcoming year. This company is used by many other large corporations on state projects. We've checked them out. They're very highly reputable. And there were 3, we went out to bid, 3 companies came in, and Highway Safety was the, like I said, the lowest qualified bidder. We're making a slight change this year. In the prior years, the contracts were out with what they call a waterborne paint, which is like a latex. We would normally do the striping in the fall, so we would be fresh for the wintertime. But we found that by April, May, 50% of that was, if not sooner, was gone. We've actually spec'd this out with an epoxy paint, which is what RIDOT uses and what most of the contracts that we utilized for the road projects for Arnold Road, Hopkins Hill, those contractors utilize the epoxy, and some of those are still visible after 2 years. So the goal here is that we can go to a year, every other year on striping if the paint holds up. So few cents more, it's like 0.398 as opposed to 2.245 for latex or the waterborne paint. So money well spent. The average cost is going to be somewhere between $36,000 to $38,000 for the entire town to be done, as our current bids specifications show.
And you have spoken to other municipalities that have used this company, and
Oh, yeah.
they come highly recommended.
They've actually done work in town also.
Have they?
Not for us in our contract, but worked through other contractors, yes.
Does anybody have any questions from the council? Go ahead.
I just have a few questions. Okay. This is my first time looking at a bid, so
Okay.
please bear with me.
No problem.
Are we supposed to have time, date stamps on any of these proposals? Because I didn't see any dates on these.
No, these aren't the actual bids.
These are not the actual bids. What is
No.
it?
He's just given us.
Is that
Those
supposed to-
bids come into the town clerk's office.
Yeah,
Those envelopes are time-stamped at the time of the bid opening that takes
so
place.
we don't have those copies with us.
No, those are available at the town clerk's office.
Okay.
I'm sure Joanne will be able to verify
They
that.
are stamped?
The envelope that contains these actually gets date and time stamped,
Okay,
not the actual, because that's, until it's opened up, we don't have access into the document.
okay, thank you. Now, when I read this documentation, it said that pre-award a demo is supposed to be conducted. What does that mean?
Basically, before, it's, pre-award demo would be that we see the equipment that they're gonna utilize before they actually start the project. And that's a standardized in the, documents that we have used in the past. The companies that if we had somebody new that did not have demonstrated use contracts with the state or through other municipalities, this company is highly recommended. We've seen their work, they've done work in town, and we don't need to see a demonstration of their work. We already are well aware and feel comfortable with them being awarded the project.
Okay, because I saw that in this proposal.
Yeah,
so-
that was an older proposal. We didn't update that. We would have taken that out, depending on if some new company would have come in that we hadn't heard about, then we'd want to see that first.
Okay, and when do you anticipate that this is going to start and end? I didn't see any start or end dates except that it starts 10 days after the award.
Yeah, it normally starts, we ask to have this done in the springtime, in the fall, so the stripes are fresh going into the winter time, depending on what the winter is like. Hopefully it's like this, we won't need those being fresh, but we normally do them in the fall, same time we do the catch basin cleaning, so everything is fresh going into the winter season. So we will let them know when if it's awarded by this council. We will set the notice to proceed date in the contract for the fall.
Okay, and are there any kinds of change orders that are associated with any of this work? I was wondering how that is handled because I didn't see it mentioned.
No, there are no change orders. We give them a list of the streets, what has to be done on those streets, and this is what it's based upon. It's a unit price.
And my last question is, how are all these roads selected? Because I saw the list of roads on which this work was going to be done, so I was just wondering how the roads were selected.
Roads were selected many years ago, and this is the roads that are arterial collector roads. Very few of the side roads are done because of the need for keeping traffic speeds down. Anything with time we go above 25, we look at doing that, and depending on the volume. So you may see that happening on some of the stripes. Calvin Town Road, for instance, will have that because it's narrow and the volume of vehicles coming in and out. So it's a criteria that was used before, and I find it being very, very successful in what we've done. If you have something that you think, Mr. Dixon, that you'd like to add to that, please feel free to contact the town manager and bring that forward, and I'll be happy to look at it and consider it for the addition to the list.
Okay. So are these changes going to be, or markings going to be made on roads that already have markings, or some new ones?
No, this is all restriping.
Oh, restriping,
Yes,
okay.
there's nothing new on this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You mentioned fall. Did you mean spring?
Fall.
Fall. So
Oh, you meant
we've been
fall.
on this now.
This is not gonna happen until the new contract. We already had striping done this past fall, which is in this contract, in this budget.
Next fall is a new contract.
So after July, we will have this is what we need this for the budget, so it'll be in the fall.
All right. Any other questions for the council? Well, the chair will entertain a motion to approve this contract.
Thank you, Mr. McKee.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk, will you read item number 4, please?
Resolution authorizing the interim town manager to award a contract for catch basin cleaning to Tri-Town Stormwater, 1830 Douglas Turnpike, Harrisville, Rhode Island.
Okay, do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, once again, this is an annual contract that we do for all of our catch basins throughout town. We went out to bid again. This is a 3-year contract. The other one just completed. This will be done also in the fall in the next budget process. We need to do this for our budget now rather than going out later on in the season, and also to be able to schedule with these companies once they're awarded, so we have a slot for the work to be done. We've in the past we have done this with what they call a clamshell unit, which would come like this here and they would clamp down. Unfortunately, that doesn't get the catch basins clean because it's bringing the circumference down and leaving silt, and it doesn't take any of the water out. So you have any contaminated water or any water that's sitting there with no idea of how much water is being taken out or how the basin's been doing. Now that was the contracts, the prior year contracts. We've now contracted this as a jet vacuum cleaner. So it's not the clamshell unit, it's a jet cleaner. They go in there and they suck it out. So they're taking out all the fines through the entire basin, taking all the water out. They're able to give us a report on each basin, how much water is coming out, what the depth of the water was, how much silt is coming out, and that'll all be reported to us on a weekly basis. We're going to get a better product. It's going to last longer. And if they find some obstructions that, unfortunately, with the clamshell, they had to walk by. We had over 100 basins to miss because they couldn't. They were so full, they weren't able to get into them because they don't have any water. Here, with the jetting number being allowed as part of the contract, any obstructions, they can just turn around and jet it, soften it up, and be able to remove it. So there'll be no more basins that'll be left undone, and we can mark them at that point if we need to have any lines jetted, which we normally spend about $5,000 a year plus on jetting lines on an emergency basis. Hopefully in the future we can get to a program where we can actually start doing portions of subdivisions on an annual basis and getting these all cleaned so that we don't have any issues with drainage and flooding.
I've seen the vac trucks used quite a bit in my profession, and that they do work very well. I was impressed that the difference in price from this new company that we are about to either approve or disapprove, that how much cheaper they were from the company that we have used in the past. So
the company we used before, Truax, was trying to dissuade me from going to the Vector unit, and he says, "Oh, it's going to be $100 a basin." I said, "Well, if that's the case, we'll address it." And then this company, Triton Stormwater, out of the northern part of the state, came in at $25 a basin, which blew them away and blew me away. The guy just left with his jaw dropping at the bid opening. So
you're familiar with their work?
I am. I met with them today, as a matter of fact. North Kingston has been using them. They'll be using them in Connecticut, and also New Hampshire, and upper Mass. So.
All right, does anybody have any questions for the council?
I've got a question. And it's just regarding, for instance, like the tough basin that we had on between 117 and
the detention pond, yep.
Yeah. Now, getting access to those tough areas, are there?
No, there's a 200 to 300 foot reel on the front of that. They can get up there with that reel to where the opening is, flush it down, and be able to suck it out right at the basin. So
great.
Yep.
Great.
That's a process.
Because I know that's been a difficult one over there for a long time.
Part of those has hydro excavation properties to it, so they can actually dig down with that just by using water pressure.
Right.
This is something that I've talked to prior councils and the former town manager about the town acquiring our own, so that we have it year round and we can utilize it for everything. And there was DEM grants available, so we'd only be paying 50%. That all didn't follow through for whatever reason. We are hopefully going to look at trying to go forward in the future.
Now, another question I have too, the difficult portion that we have at Thompson Drive down in the cul-de-sac, where it's always backing up there, and apparently it's blocked somewhere. Would they be able to pull out?
Actually, we had a jetter company come in and jetted that out, so we're not having a problem there anymore.
Great.
But yes, we'd have to call somebody in. It's $100 per hour for them to come in. I'm sure they're like a 4-hour minimum. Yeah. But again, we could do this on a regular basis for ourselves too. So it's one more piece, one more toolbox.
Well, like I said, that was the difficult part was trying to get someone down for a part-time or a early morning because it was just too costly to.
Truax actually charges us $1,200 for half a day. This would here it'd only be $400 for half a day.
$400. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Go ahead.
What is the estimated total cost for this project? What do you anticipate?
It's 2,450 basins times 25, so.
Okay.
That's how many basins.
So it's about a 75% savings at that price.
It is, and again, having this approved, we'll be able to put it into our budget under our special work for the department.
Right.
Okay, you got a question there?
Yeah, well, it's not actually a question. I guess it is a question because it's going to lead to one. My concern is about the time of day they're going to be doing this. I know I worked nights last year. I worked a lot of nights on state projects, and coming home, and I saw the company that was working for us last year with the clam buckets were working all night long in residential neighborhoods with their trucks running, with their lights spinning, with their safety lights spinning on top of it. These vac trucks are much louder than that, do a much better job.
8 a.m. in the morning they start. And we've already put that into in the meeting we had today, that they know it's going to be daytime only.
Very good. Thank you. That was my only concern.
I couldn't control the other company.
That's for the landfill. That's something.
Okay, if nobody else has any question, the chair will entertain a motion to accept this.
Motion to approve.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk, item 5, please, under the consent.
Ratification of resolution number 80-18-4992 by the Town Council authorizing extending or continuing the acceptance of additional beneficial use determination, BUD, and other DEM compliant material at the landfill.
Now, Mr. Town Manager, I know you worked on this and you pretty well versed on what's going on, so if you would be so kind as to give an explanation to us, the taxpayers.
This is actually became a non-issue today on this.
Good.
We as you were aware, we had a situation going on where we were looking to go 5 feet above the DEM authorized cap. We ran into a problem with the contractor. We had made some last best final offer, refused. Those negotiations never really ended. We were still in process, and we thought we had an agreement based on volume versus height, covering everything we needed to get this done. And I was ready to, and we put this on the agenda to bring up in front of you. And then late Friday, everything changed because we got the new numbers in on what material and the amount of material and the amount of revenue, excess revenue, that's actually been generated by the capping at the point of the approved height of this. So as of October, we were looking at having a shortfall of about $800,000 on the 30-year operations and maintenance cost associated with this landfill. So part of their the proposal by the group, the primary responsible parties, and the contractor as well as the engineering firms, we were all looking at bringing this up 5 feet, would generate the additional revenue, so there'd be no cost to the town on going forward on the 30-year O&M. Well, it turns out through natural compaction on that site and all the latest evaluations they've done on the numbers, we have actually generated excess revenue far beyond what they were projecting. In October, they were projecting a excess revenue, which would cover the O&M, of about $1.181 million, or about $800,000 short of the $2.017 million needed over the next 30 years. Well, when these final numbers came in late Friday and early today finalized, we're actually going to generate an additional $1.4 million over what they had anticipated only in October. So the reality of it is, with what we've already put on there, and which will be ending in the next 2 weeks or so, for additional materials coming in. It may be 3 weeks, but 2 weeks or so, we'll actually have in excess of the amount needed by almost $600,000 into the system. So we've already generated everything we need to pay for the O&M. There will be excess in. We turned around and looked at the possibility of continuing anyways, generate that extra million and change, go towards the town. The problem is, one, that money would not be available to the town until after the 30 years O&M period is up. So it would sit there, we would have absolutely no access to it. And what happened today is the attorneys took an informal vote. As part of the PRP and the agreement that's in place, the town can't, even though we're 60% responsible for all costs associated with this, we can't control what happens. We need 2 of the other PRPs to agree to it. They have all decided, due to the fact that the revenue is there to cover all of these O&M costs,
Cap it and end it.
nobody wants any more part of this. So they took that out of our hands to even go further. So that's been eliminated. So they will begin the capping process in the next couple of weeks. We're effectively, almost done, and there will be in excess of, like I said, almost $600,000 in it. So there should be no additional cost to the town going forward on this whole project.
For the next 30 years.
For the next 30 years on the O&M, which after this goes, we're going to be looking at the solar project on top of that property, which will generate revenue for the town, because we do receive that revenue separate from the PRP group on responsible parties for paying for the cleanup.
That's very good news. Unusually that we
Yeah.
the word revenue coming in.
Right.
And,
I didn't mind doing all the work for nothing when it came out today about just where this is, and we're in much better shape.
I do have a question.
Sure.
With the funds that are derived there, that are put aside, who is handling the OEM for that?
The attorneys handle that. There's also an insurance policy that's paid for as part of the membrane that and covering that's going on to this thing, because it's going to look like like AstroTurf when it's done. It's going to be a nice green
Space.
Yeah, very nice. Cranston's got their landfill that they just recently completed out there is using the same material that's going to be used here, and it's a really nice looking material. It's going to look nice. So we're not going up another 5 feet. We're going to lock it down where it is, and the capping should begin within the next couple of months. They've got to order this. It takes time for that. They've got some final work to do over there where the scale house is. All of that has to be brought down. The scale house has to move, so they're working on that. So there's work that's gonna be going on over there, but, there's very limited, there'll be additional capping material, because that'll be a clean fill that's going in. But as far as the bud material and the C&D, that'll be ending very shortly, but with these kinds of numbers, we're in really good shape financially on that project.
We're still in the right time frame to have it capped by the end of this.
It is in process. It will be capped by the end of this year. It should be capped by late fall at the latest. So,
Just so everybody knows, if you want to see the process as it goes on, the landfill that the interim town manager is referring to is on Pontiac Avenue, behind Waste Management System, across from the Gray Bar Hotel that the state of Rhode Island runs. You can go down there and check that material out and stuff, and see how the capping process takes place, because that's exactly what's going to happen on our old landfill in Coventry.
Okay, any more questions? All right, see no more questions, there's no need to write,
There's
it's
no-
a done deal,
yeah,
so.
No,
no
Okay,
action
to be
necessary.
taken.
Nope.
Okay, the next item, item D, licenses for discussion and or action. Madam Clerk, would you take number 1?
We have the renewal of firearm licenses. The first one is A, Mid-State Gun, 1200 Tyoke Avenue. The next one is B, Hawkins Machine Company Incorporated, 374 Hopkins Hill Road. C, Rhode Island Gun Works, 15 Sandy Bottom Road, Unit Number 3.
Mr. President, could I make a motion that we take all 3 of these at the same time?
We
I'm
would, but
gonna
I
have-
think we
yeah.
have to Mr. Labassana is gonna recuse himself
I need to
from the
recuse
first one.
myself from the first license.
So why don't we take the first one, and
First
then we'll
one.
do the second two
Okay.
together. I have no
Okay.
problem with that.
So,
So,
I will actually,
all right,
quick
so,
vote, so I'm not even moving.
the first, renewal of firearms, we'll take A, Mid-State Guns. The chair will entertain a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, the next two will take B and C together for Hawkins Machines and for Rhode Island Gun Works.
And I'll be
Motion to
happy
approve.
And I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay. The next item is item E, resolutions for discussion and or action. Madam Clerk, would you take number 1, please?
Reappointing one member to the Tax Assessment Board of Review.
Yes. Yes, yes. I don't think we'll need you at this time anyway. Okay, the Lisa Avedisian, is she here?
No, she's not.
She is not. Okay, said need action, take it to accept her. We'll have to wait, I'll wait for Mr. Cody, he's probably to swear her in. We'll need to vote on that. She's not here, but we'll have to approve it, and she'll come at a later time to see the clerk, and we'll have to just wait a couple of minutes for Mr. Cody to finish his business. Yes, yes. Town clerk, you'll get a hold of her and let her know to come in?
Yes.
Okay.
He called me a couple of times a couple of weeks ago about the Tyoke work. We've got the application. Carolyn filling out the application for, yeah.
Yes,
I
we
got
are.
it, I'm
Yep.
reviewing it and kicking it in, requesting to.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
the chair will entertain, she is not here, Lisa Avedisian, she will get sworn in, with the town clerk at her convenience. The chair will entertain a motion to accept her as the Board of Review
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, the next item, number 2, Madam Clerk, if you would.
Approval of sewer tie-ins, Roger and Amy Teresa Sylvia for 442 Fairview Avenue, Plat 63, Lot 142.1.
Okay, are there any questions from the, this came for the favorable recommendation from the sewer subcommittee. Are there any questions from any members of the council? No, sir. Will the chair entertain a motion to accept this, tie-in?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, the next item, number 3, Madam Clerk.
Reappointment of interim town manager.
Okay, we have been actively with a search firm looking for a town manager, and we have yet to find a qualified candidate. So just to cover, we were only supposed to have an interim town manager for 6 months or until we found a viable candidate, and we haven't. So we are looking to extend the contract to Mr. Wazika, which coincidentally is doing a fantastic job helping us through this time. Is there any questions from anybody from the council? Okay, do you need any more explanation? Would you like to explain anything further, Mr. Solicitor? No? Concerning the 6-month deal?
I think you explained things very well. You're working diligently to find a town manager, and I think as long as you're doing that, the charter allows you to do this. You have to have someone running the town.
Absolutely.
So.
I got a question. Ed, you still want it?
You really don't want an answer on that. It's a lot easier in IT.
That's right. You know,
Motion made.
they have lava lamps. They don't have those in the town manager's office.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much
Can we
for
applaud?
continuing.
Yes, yeah, we
Absolutely.
can
You've done a good
applaud, we
job
can
for us.
applaud, we can applaud. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, the next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk, is item 4.
Town council appoints members as sewer subcommittee.
Okay, these 2 positions that we are going to appoint are the council-appointed members. I was a member of the sewer subcommittee for the last 7 or 8 years, and I think Mr. Labassiniere was. We are going to appoint Deb Bacon and Gary Cody. Ms. Bacon is not here because she's sick tonight, so we won't be able to swear her in, but we will swear Mr. Cody in as a sewer subcommittee member.
Don't I get accepted?
Yeah. Well, maybe yeah, it's true.
No, please, swear me in. This was per my request. I
Yes,
requested
it was. You
to
did
be
request
appointed
it.
to the sewer subcommittee,
Yeah,
so.
they need-
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah, I stomped my feet and banged my hands
You
and,
did, you wanted it.
yeah.
Yeah, they got it here.
Is that? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, go do it.
All right, well, I'll entertain a
Yeah.
motion to, well, we don't need to. It is a council-appointed position.
It's a council appointment,
Yeah.
Right.
so.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll
Yeah, yeah.
do it right here.
Yeah.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that you will be true, faithful to the state and support the laws and constitution thereof and Constitution of the United States of America, that you will serve and truly execute the office of a member of the sewer subcommittee, excuse me.
I swear. Ask anybody who has coffee with me.
Yeah.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll have this taken in probably the next meeting. Thank
There you
you
go.
for accepting that. Okay,
Oh,
the
except I
next
can't wait
item
to
on
get
the
to
agenda,
work.
Madam Clerk, item number 5, please.
Tree warden Craig Marcotte.
Is Greg Marcotte here?
No.
No. Okay. So the chair will entertain a motion, Mr. Wazika, do you have anything to explain about that? He's been our tree warden?
He's been our tree warden, he's done a great job, and.
Motion.
Okay. So, okay, we have a motion, and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. He's our new tree warden. Okay, next resolution, number 6, Madam Clerk, if you would.
Resolution on awarding a contract to Northeast Reevaluation Group LLC of Warwick, Rhode Island for the 2019 statistical reevaluation of the town of Coventry at the cost of $228,000.
Would you like to give an explanation of what this is all about, please?
Sure thing. So the revaluation, as I'm sure everyone is familiar with, it's a 9-year cycle where we do a full revaluation, and then for 2 3-year cycles after that, we do an update. This would be an update. We just completed the full revaluation a couple years back. There were 2 bids that came in, one from Northeast Revaluation Group, who's been one also from Vision Appraisal, and I do, in the interest of transparency, I do want to put on record that I did work for Northeast Revaluation for a short time at the beginning of 2018. Just want to make sure that that's a transparency thing. So, but they were the lower bid. They were $228,000 versus Vision's bid, which I believe was about $247. So they're about $30,000 less. They've done, they've got about 13 municipalities in the state of Rhode Island right now. It's really just them and Vision Appraisal are the only 2 players in the game in Rhode Island at this time. But Northeast has done a great job at everything I've seen them do. I know they've been in Coventry for years and years, even as Appraisal Resource before, and even as Jerome Appraisal even before that. Same company, just a little bit of changes internally. They know what they're doing. They're familiar with the town, and I don't see why they wouldn't do another good job as they always have.
And this is by law. We have to do this.
Yes, we're required, right. I don't think any town would ever do it if they didn't make us.
Right,
so
right. I mean, I just want to make sure everybody knows we have to, certain amount of years, there's a requirement.
Right.
All right.
It was 10, and then they decided 10 was too long, so they made it 9 with 2 3s in between. So we'd still do a full, it's a similar cycle, but we do these updates in between, which is good because with the 10-year, the market changes so much in 10 years that somebody's house that was, $200,000 10 years ago, now it's $350, and it's like, wow, and the rates fluctuate so much. So the 3-year cycle is a little better. It's just, you've got a little bit more work that has to get done, but it does keep everything in line in a tighter fashion.
Explain a little bit to the taxpayers the statistical evaluation versus, just so what they expect, there'll be nothing any different they have to do and so on.
Correct. That's actually a good point. So on a full revaluation, the revaluation firm they're going to attempt to get into every single property in the entire town. That's what a full is all about. The update, they're only going to try to enter properties that have sold within the past year or two, or within the past year and the upcoming year, because it's a December 31st, 19 revaluation. So they'll look at 2019 sales and probably some 2018 sales, and they'll try to get into those properties because if we're going to value an entire town based on these sales, we want to make sure that we know what actually sold for that value. So that's why they go in there, and they'll also do any properties that have had a permit, like a significant permit, additions, or of course, new construction, demolitions, anything like that that's significant. Not like a roof over or siding, things like that. We really don't chase that too often, but the major stuff, because again, we're going to use those properties to value the entire town, so we want to make sure we know exactly what's there and what changes are. So it's a lot less invasive than a full revaluation because they don't try to visit nearly as many properties. I mean, maybe 500, 600, 700 properties are going to qualify, no more than 1,000, whereas the full, we try to get into all 15,000. So there's that. And then everything is the same outside of that as a full. So they'll do all their work, they'll modify all the tables, they'll get everything in line with the sales, and then they'll send out all the notices of the proposed values around February, March time of year. So if anybody's paying attention, I'd like to let everybody know. We'll probably do a press release too, but that's the time. If you don't feel comfortable with that value, you get to sit down with that revaluation firm at an informal setting, tell them why you think they were wrong, what you think the correct answer should be, and they'll review those, and then they take all that information and then they finalize everything before they turn it over to me and the town, and then we make bills out of it. So that's a really good piece of this reval because everybody gets to see these new values before they become a bill, and they have a chance to discuss them with the reval firm. And then after that, they become the tax bills, and we go from there, and we get a couple more years, and we start doing it again.
Okay, great. Thanks for that explanation. Any questions from the council?
Yeah. The way you explained it makes it sound like it's town-wide, and it is, but only to a point, because when they do a statistical reevaluation, what they do is they break the town up into blocks.
Always, yes.
And they go by the sales of houses within those blocks.
Correct.
But a bankruptcy sale or a repo, a bank repossession is not included in that.
Not typically, no.
Not typically included in that.
No, it's not market sale.
Although the statistical reevaluation affects every piece of property in town, it has the potential to affect different properties on a different value. Where I live in the eastern end of town, where the lots are small, and maybe it's only going to affect my property in an upward fashion, 5%, 2%, 3%, whatever the company decides, given the current market. But if you live in Wood Estates, and yours is going to go up, there's a possibility that in Wood Estates, it could go up 12, 14, 18%.
That's correct.
Because of the increased value of the property there. So, but I'm just trying to clarify, because the way you described it, it sounded like it affects all properties equally in the town of Coventry, and it really doesn't.
That's right. And in fact, the whole purpose of the revaluation is that all properties do not change equally. And the,
Right.
you know, the reality is that if we did a revaluation and everybody's value went up, say 10%, we don't have to do that revaluation because nobody's going to change. Everybody's going to go up 10%, the rate's going to come down. So what we look for, and the reason that you do these revaluations is, like you're saying, certain areas economically and based on the market, this area may be doing better. There may be a lot of higher sales over there, so those values need to be brought up. Then you may have an area over here that may be more flat, and those values don't go up. And that's the whole purpose of doing the revaluation, is to balance everything back out
Well,
again.
I just think that we need to explain it better to the taxpayers, and not just to people here. I mean, on a whole, because people see the discrepancy when the new valuations come out, because as big as Coventry is square mileage-wise, it is a very small, tight-knit community, and people talk to each other over coffee, in church, and, oh, mine went up 4%. Oh, geez, how come mine went up 19%? Yeah. So I think we need to do a better job of helping the taxpayer, the general public, to understand how it's broken up into blocks and how those blocks are broken down into sales over the last 12 months to determine what your evaluation is going to be. Because there is going to be a discrepancy.
Of
We all
course,
know
there
that there
should
always
be.
is.
That's what you're looking for.
Right,
That's
there
exactly
always
why
is.
you
So
do it. Exactly.
I think we need to do a better job of selling it to the general public so they understand it.
One of the things we've done in the past, Mr. Cody, is when we do these reval, we've put the comparatives in on the website, full roll, new, old, so you can check your neighborhood, so you can see what's going on, not just on yours, but on everybody. It is public record, so we post this out for everybody to see, and you can go and do a look and see what your neighbor's getting.
No, I understand
Yep,
that. I understand that. I don't know, every time we go through this, you always get a list of complaints from people. Oh, I didn't my property more than it's affecting the property that's less than a mile away from me. And well, because there are economically diverse communities in the town
we
of
call them
Coventry
neighborhoods.
that are affected differently.
They do.
But the general public doesn't
parcel
understand that unless you try to help them and explain that to them. You know what I mean? So this is almost a topic that I would say that a public informational meeting would be a good idea, just to let people know, because then it's podcast. Everybody has access to what's being said at that meeting, not what they can look up on the computer, if they can find the town's website, if they can navigate it to get to where they want. If you do a public informational meeting and you podcast it, then everybody has the same opportunity to garner that information, so they know going in what's going to happen with the reevaluation.
We will do that. We will do one. We will do it here so we can post it out live. We can do a live stream as well as available for review.
Mr. Wazika, I'm not trying to tell you how to do
I'm
your
not. I
job.
think, no, it's a good idea. I agree
The
as well.
leadership is sitting
No,
there. I'm
no,
just
it-
telling you from a taxpayer standpoint what would work
I don't
in
know,
my
I think I
mind.
just heard him say it.
No. No, we are going to be doing the same thing coming up for the budget process. We're going to be doing an informational meeting and having it here. We're going to live stream it so we can try and get some of the information out to the public, and that's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. So adding this on the reval is just something else, again, for educational. I think it's something we need to do more to be transparent and try to get that information out to avoid the misconceptions that can occur when people don't have the correct knowledge.
Yeah, I think it would help just to help them. I think if people
I do.
understand
It's,
a lot of it,
and it's something we'll do. That's a good suggestion, and we will do it.
Okay, great. Thank
I
you.
plan to at least have like an FAQ page on the website and stuff, but again, like you're saying, not everybody knows where that is or where to find it, but believe me, when this gets going, there'll be the list of the typical questions that get asked, and I'll do my best to explain it, at least in words, but you know something where everybody can come here and ask questions, I'll come to it, obviously, and I'll explain everything I know. I mean, I know how they work. I've seen them enough times. I've done them. I've been on both sides of them. So, you know, and there is a lot of confusion around it. And it is something that nobody likes. I don't like doing them, but they have to be done because if not, then you start to diverge too far from the market.
Right.
And you know, if this neighborhood's going up and this one's not, but their assessments are staying the same, it's really not fair to these guys over here. So it needs to balance out. It needs to have different percent changes in different areas because it's just really what the market shows us. And the more people understand things, I find this all through my department, especially in assessing, because, you know, it's the taxes and everything. The more people understand the process and understand how it works and what everything's all about, the less confusion there is and the more comfortable they feel that they are being treated fairly. So that is typically my approach. And if town manager wants to do a seminar, I'm more than happy to help out with that. And I think it'd be a good idea.
I think, I mean, you're always approachable and always available, but that would probably relieve some of the individual phone calls you would get, you know, and it would help, you know, everybody. So, yeah, that would be great if you could do that.
Great. I just got one question, Chris, Ed. When is the process going to begin?
So it'll actually begin quite soon. Once we get this buttoned up and we'll get the insurance certificates and the bonds and all the kind of paperwork done, that we will probably have a data collector start working within a couple of weeks or so. Just one guy just to start it off and start doing the sales reviews and stuff and looking at the data collection. I shouldn't call it sales review. That's sort of a later end. But yeah, it'll be soon. And the other thing too is I want that part where we send out the letters and the time frame for people to come in. I've made this very clear to this company and both companies, though only one, but I want that time frame to be long enough that it's not like, hey, I got the letter, and then the next time I look at it, I already missed the deadline. And I know that happens, and these things tend to get rushed, but this is actually starting kind of early. I did it on purpose because I want it to be done so that everybody has a chance to actually come to an informal hearing if they feel they need to. And this way, that, like I said, this happens all too many times. You get like a 2-week span of when they're having the hearings, and everybody misses them. You know, and that's not fun for me because that means I have to deal with an appeal process instead. And it's bad for the town because now it's already a bill, and now that appeal becomes an abatement. Whereas an informal one, you set your tax rate after you fix everything, and it's better budgetarily. So. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Are there any other questions from council members? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to accept.
Motion.
Second.
Second the motion.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is item number 7. Madam Clerk, would you please?
Next, we have a resolution authorizing the General Assembly passage of act authorizing the Coventry Board of Canvassers to combine voting districts for a special election in 2019 to fill a vacancy on the Coventry School Committee.
Mr. Mazika, would you, or Ms. Weber, okay, Mr. Solicitor, would you care to explain this?
Sure. There was a request that we have, this is first, it's probably important to say, this election, there is only one person who has declared to run for the office. So in the interests of lessening the costs, particularly in those circumstances, there was a request from the town manager and others in the Board of Canvassers to lessen the number of polling places because it is a considerable expense to the town. The only way to do that is to get a law passed. I checked with the Board of Elections, and that is what they said as well. Barrington and Bristol both put in acts almost identical to the one that I prepared to be submitted to the General Assembly through our delegation. I think in the case of Bristol, it became unnecessary, but they are still going forward with Barrington. I may have those transposed, but I know there is a similar act going through the General Assembly. So this is the only way to do it, is to amend the general laws. We actually have time as long as it moves quickly through the General Assembly, and I see we have a couple members of the General Assembly here tonight, so the sooner we get this into the stream of bills that flow at this time of year, the better off we'll be. Because I think the election is in March, if I'm not mistaken, and so there is time, but not a lot of time, so, but it's a pretty simple bill. It should, you know, fly through, so I would recommend, you know, typically give it to the two senior members of the delegation in the House and the delegation in the Senate. I think it would be Pat Serpa in the House, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm positive it's Senator Raptakis in the Senate. So that's it. I noticed there is a school committee resolution that goes in tandem with this, which is good. So that's it. You can't. The General Assembly will not consider an act unless it's endorsed by the town council. That's the purpose of this, to explain it.
Does it affect other elections moving forward, or
No.
just this one?
It is written for this one special election for school committee in 2019, and it even specifies the voting precincts where it will be. If you are curious why it's going to, the two polling places will be the Summit Baptist Church and the Maple Root Baptist Church, it's because Summit Baptist Church was chosen because that way they don't have to close the Western Coventry School for a day for polling. So that's the reason for that.
My only concern with the Maple Root Baptist Church is, isn't that where we're having all the accidents over the last 2 years? We're just gonna put more traffic over there?
I don't think we're gonna expect much traffic on this one.
Well, so one,
I think that was facetious.
My question is, why can't we make this for one place at Town Hall? For instance, make it the one polling place at Town Hall.
I played it safe and copied what Bristol and Barrington
How many
did.
people are running for the position?
One. There's
Then
one.
why can't we make it one place?
One place and one
question.
vote would
One
do it.
person's gonna vote, and it's gonna be over.
Well, the
could be
law says
write-ins.
the law says this is how it must be done.
We have
And
to follow the law.
Yeah.
the Board of
Crazy.
Elections, as I understood from Bob Raposa, who's the chair, he's the executive director of the Board of Elections. I believe this is going before the board and will get approval from them because they understand the.
If we only got one person, it just seems senseless that we just can't have one person vote, one person can't come in and vote and it's done,
Well, then
You can, but you have to have 4 polling places.
Yeah.
Right.
And the problem is not, having one person vote. It's that no matter how many people are running and no matter how many people turn out, you have to offer 4 polling places.
Yeah.
That's the law.
Under the current law.
Yeah,
Right.
so the only way to do it is to actually change the law through the General
Is there a way we
Assembly.
can add like just the hours from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m.?
Do it from 7
right,
to
well.
7:05.
Yeah,
If
7 to
it's-
7:05. Let the person
Well,
go
just
in,
give them a
vote for
chance to
himself.
finish their coffee and donuts.
All right, if that's what we gotta do, I mean, at least we 2 polling
Okay.
places will give some of the people.
Motion.
All right.
So the chair will
Yeah.
entertain a motion to accept.
Motion.
I second the motion.
Okay, we
All
have
right,
a
it's
motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have
I-
it, motion carries.
I will mention one thing. There is always the write-in element.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is.
And I had forgotten about that. And believe it or not,
Dixon already
in-
brought that to my attention.
In some towns, like New Shoreham, write-ins sometimes win.
Yes, they do.
And so you can't forget about that. That's another reason.
Block Island, nobody knows when.
All right, Block Island, whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay,
All
the
right.
next item on the agenda is item F. Madam Clerk, would you read number 1, item F?
Transfer of Class B liquor license, new victualling license, live show entertainment, pool table and game room licensing, Kappa Incorporated doing business as the Old Theater Diner to the Hot Spot Place LLC doing business as the Old Theater Diner, Tammy Lavoy, 33 Sandy Bottom Road.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so the chair will entertain a motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, first of all, I see we have some representatives from the Old Theater Diner. If you want to come up and give a little speech about what's going on, so before the public does. How you doing? Welcome.
Good evening, members of Town Council. I'm Tammy
You
Lavoy.
speak into your microphone.
Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Tammy Lavoy, 8 Ann Court, Coventry.
Ernie Nautilillo, 84 Coventry Drive.
Okay, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit what's going on, what you're planning on doing, and?
Well, myself and 3 other partners have bought out the Old Theater Diner. We closed today pending the liquor license. We're not really changing much. We're keeping it the same. We're just gonna try and improve the food.
Don't say it's gonna be the same. Please.
It's better.
It's gonna be better.
We're going to improve.
It's going to be better. I'm shutting up. Go ahead.
So you're just looking to transfer the liquor license?
Yeah, it's all like.
Yes, sir.
All right, everything else, hopefully, like you said, it's gonna be a better place. You got any other plans?
We're hoping to expand the menu a little bit, add some new things, you know, really just bring up the quality of food. You know, we want to be what it used to be. Back in, Mr. Zarakostas is one of the owners as well, and he's operated dozens of restaurants, and the quality of his food speaks for itself.
Were they former owners of the
Yes.
Old Theater Diner as
Yeah,
well?
he was the original as of Old Theater Diner.
Okay.
Okay, and everything else will stay the same as far as the entertainment. You're not planning on changing?
Nope, everything's gonna stay exactly the
Music
same.
and like you've had.
Yep.
All right. Okay, we'll open up to any comments from the public. Is there anybody in the public would like to speak? Seeing none, hearing none.
I'd like to make
any
a motion, we
questions?
close public hearing.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
to close public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. We'll close public hearing. The chair will entertain a motion to.
Motion to approve the license.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck to you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, welcome back.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anybody from the public who would like to comment? Seeing none? Okay,
there's one.
Mr. Ghizzarelli, please come on up.
Thank you, Ron Ghizzarelli, 50 Harrington Road, and first, congratulations to everyone and Happy New Year for your elections. Those
Same
are
to you.
still with us. I put a lot of notes down tonight on a lot of topics. I didn't see the agenda before I came, but I'll save them. I enjoy what's going to be happening, suggestion by Vice President Boissonniere on Saturday meetings, and maybe we can have that in some way perpetually if they're popular, for purposes of input, so long comments don't have to be made at the town council meetings. So I'm hoping to make most of my comments on these topics at those meetings. I don't know if you're going beyond March, or you said February, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And then you gotta remember that some people are not available, vacations, all that stuff, so you gotta try a few when only 2 or 3 people show up, I hope. Thank you. First one I wanted to mention is, that I think is important, is the, what's going on with the dump and the covering of the dump. As you know, our Tioga Lake Association has been heavily involved in that for many years, because you're up about 100 feet above the lake, and we have the large aquifer around the whole center of New England there, and we have springs of all types coming into Tioga Lake, and we never can be sure where they're coming from. So we're concerned about the dump. I think Mr. Cambio was required to have about 9 holding ponds up there. I heard it was the last count years ago. I don't know what's happened since then. I haven't been checking any of that for the last 2 or 3 years since I lost my wife, and a lot of health problems going on in my family and myself. But I'll be around. It's a new year, and I want everyone to know that I have about 4 topics that involve the town on my agenda, and I want to get to them and get them resolved, or find out that I'm wrong about my positions on them, and I'll back off. But in the interim, I'm concerned about the dump, especially because the more weight we're putting on there, the more I'm worried about those stainless steel barrels that have a 6-year life expectancy, and it's been over that now. And I'm just worried about what all of those toxic type of chemicals that were in there. I pushed in the beginning, and our Lake Association pushed in the beginning to clean it out, whatever the cost, because of the fact it wasn't flat land, and it's up above Tioga Lake, and up above all of the homes that that are on some of the roads coming on, down Arnold Road. And we've had a lot of problems along there with deep wells and everything over the years. My family lived on Grant Drive as well. I could tell you story after story, where the wells would drill deep for water and so forth, and had all kinds of problems. So that's a major issue on my agenda for this year, to find out, going back to basics, what's going to happen with that filling, instead of little by little at least cleaning it out. My understanding was that it was looked at by several people in the back of the dump, and when they dug down to try to get to the bottom, it was bigger and deeper than anyone had thought, supposedly. I only know that not first person, but by conversation about it. So I'm hoping that we can make sure, with all those test areas we have, that we're monitoring it, that we can keep a close look on that, including the depth. And of course, all the rainstorms, it's not going to go back to center of New England. It's coming down Arnold Road into Tug Lake. And we've kept that lake as pristine as possible with all our sacrifices to keep busy on it all these years. And I hope we can keep it that way. And I'm hoping, I don't know what's happening. I'm not an engineer, but common sense I do have. And a lot of common sense tells me as long as that stuff is up there, we're looking for trouble, because it's here and we're there. So that's the way I look at it. So keep that in mind. I'd love to have had all those companies that were involved in that clean it out a little bit at a time, so now it's all gone, but apparently we're doing it the other way. I like what's happening on covering it, but I don't know what all that weight's going to do and what's going to happen eventually with all that weight hitting all those barrels that have been put under there for all these years. So keep that in mind. I think it's serious. It's not going away as long as it's just covered and not dug out. And it's not that big a dump, Mr. President. I think over a period of time it could be cleaned out a little by little from the back. Keep that in mind. Thank you.
All right, thank
Second issue, I won't be as long on this issue.
We have 3 minutes
I
time
understand.
limit, so.
Well, you gave a lot of other people a lot of time, Mr. President. I'm just asking for just a little bit of time. I think that's an important issue for our new councilmen and for all of our district over there. Second issue is about in terms of trying to think about not only the landfill, but also the meetings I had mentioned. I'm concerned about a little housekeeping that I had mentioned at several meetings, and I see that that our town symbol is in the center now. It would be nice, a lot of our members in the Lake Association came for the first time. They called me up and said, we don't know half the people that are on the town council. I said, well, they're not all on the town council. That's on the side, but the town solicitor, the town manager, I mentioned it once before, the town clerk, and the sergeant of arms would be nice to be put on the other side or one side or the other. So when people come to the meeting, they know who everybody is. Might be something you'd like to look into, Mr. President. I got some other issues. I'll leave them out for tonight because there may be other people that want to speak, but apparently no one else raised their hand. So I'll wait for the February meeting to bring up the other issues in detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gazzarelli. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? Seeing none, hearing none, motion to adjourn will be...
No, motion to recess.
We're going to adjourn the
Into
meeting, and then we're going to
executive
recess into executive session. I want a motion to adjourn the council meeting, and then we will recess into executive session. We have to finish our executive session.
Right, but I believe that you keep the town this council open. meeting We'll recess first and then come back.
And then come back.
Okay, well, for all intents and purposes, our council meeting is finished. We are going to come back after executive session and officially close the meeting. But right now, most of the information you guys need, we're done. So, yeah, we're not going to do any more. We have executive session. So a motion to recess back into, recess, go back into executive session.
Okay, so moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We need a,
Okay, in the executive session.
If anybody's watching this on live stream, I'm going to be leaving the video on until we come back in to finish off. So this will continue without anyone sitting up here or however long this takes. Audio will be off.
All righty then.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
I make a motion, I second the
Do we have
motion.
a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to seal the minutes from executive session.
I'd like to make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
The report that no votes were taken in executive session.
Yeah, no, we've never done that before, so, no votes were taken, they can't be taken, so, okay,
No, but I mean, you,
all right, the next
You can
one.
make a statement in the notes there that, just make the statement in essence.
All right, there were no votes taken
No
in
votes were taken
executive
in
session.
executive session.
All right, the, next thing we'll do is, motion to adjourn.
make a motion to reopen the meeting.
Oh, we
We
never
closed
closed,
the
we never,
executive.
yeah, we closed that over there, now we just adjourn. Because we never
Yeah,
closed
we
this
never
meeting.
closed
Oh, you
it.
didn't close
Okay,
it.
No, we never
motion,
closed it, we
all right.
recessed it.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Go. Yeah, that.